You know, if you want to have innovation, you definitely have to have imagination. It takes somebody to think about something that doesn't exist in order for it to exist. So Interledger's vision is to be able to send a payment as easily as you send an email. What I've found is with Interledger, they understand the necessity for art and creativity. We created the Future Money Grant because we had one idea in mind. What does it look like for artists to take this idea of financial inclusion or exclusion from communities that are often not represented? I believe that artists and creatives are the best use case for emerging technologies because we are the ones that often operate without.
To me, Restimulate is giving narratives to statistics. I do a lot of academic research. We are working with super large data sets, millions of people. And that makes it really hard because it takes out the human component within the statistics.
This piece is about simulations, but also about simultaneous features. When people normally think about financial inclusion, it's in an individual way. In this case, we're thinking about a collective way. The questions that can bring us to a new future about financial inclusion that we are not finding now.
So we asked the question what the average person would do to get rich. If they are trying to figure out how to crack the system, what would they do? Our answer was they're probably going to go and try to get one of these airport books on how to get rich and try to follow their advice. We started to try to figure out what are structural inequalities existing within this context. What is the wage gap between urban and rural? What is the wage gap between indigenous minorities and white mestizos? In this context, there is a lot of inequality that is already existing. We were really trying to figure out a way to translate and give more dimensions to data that is not only two-dimensional.
Technology is often grounded in zeros and ones, for real. People don't think of technology as creative, except technologists. People find the beauty in code. They find the beauty in the binary. They find the beauty in zeros and ones and those answers that they can pull from that.
So most economists, they have all the same models, the same theories to study this system. In the Waterworks of Money project, we use this metaphor of money as water. So we visualize the system as a waterworks. So we talk about liquidity, markets can freeze, wealth can evaporate. We use terms as aqueducts, canals, pumps to make the language accessible. One of the key features of the current system is that it's a hierarchical system. So at the top is the central bank, then you have the commercial banks, and then the normal people. So there are all kinds of mechanisms hidden in this system that are contribute to inequality in the tower of society. At the top of the tower, there is a big aqueduct to the banking sector. So when you are at the top, you can borrow at a very attractive rate, so you have good access to the banking system. So the lower you go, the narrower the canals are, and at the bottom there is no connection anymore. So the people who have no money, they have no access to liquidity. We also discuss alternatives or show alternatives. When we implement public digital money, you change the hierarchy of money. So you have a direct channel between the central bank and the people, and it can be really a big advantage in the future.
For Sikula-Sonke, which means we grow together in Isikosa, it was really about creating those living archives of Afrofuturist village banking. When we look at village banking, it's not based in an institution, it's based in communities of trust.
This practice is so common in Southern Africa, but it doesn't necessarily get the recognition that it deserves. A lot of knowledge of inclusive financial systems already does exist within communities. It's just a matter of recognizing that and giving credit where it's due.
I have personally experienced the systemic inequalities in financial systems online. We have the World Bank, the IMF that are giving loans to our countries, and it's a system of debt. We're mostly thinking about solutions imagined for us from a Western perspective. In Kailicha, in Case Kamalhook, or in Lusaka, Zambia, wealth goes beyond money. Wealth is health. Wealth is being able to trust each other to build community. Wealth is knowing that when you're going through a difficult time, that someone else in the community will come through for you. To just have a place to build solidarity outside of the traditional systems that are dominant, that are very individualistic.
As a child, I saw the relationship that my great-grandmother had with the lottery, right? She would play every single day. I wanted to pay homage to her in the creation of this work. Understanding the hope that she had in this process, I started to collect lottery tickets. In my collecting them, I realized that, oh wait, there is a history in the legacy of the lottery as it pertains to my culture as a Black American woman. The creation of this work has allowed us to really hone into the desires and the needs of our community and not what we're told that we should want. To make our own look, right? And not with the support of the United States government or any institution outside of ourselves. That we can create the financial inclusion that exists amongst our own power. I am a fervent believer that you cannot create a new world without the minds of artists. Whether it be economies, government, or technology, artists, we see a new world and we have to be a part of the conversation.
I really see food as a medium for connection. I don't think you can possibly work with food in any capacity and not ask yourself the question of, equity and social inclusion. The work is about retracing the genesis of currency from something that's tangible, that comes from the earth, and therefore that's easier to share in a sense and more democratic. And it's transitioned into something that's immaterial and abstract and almost so complex that it leaves a lot of people behind because not everybody can grasp it. Hence the hologram projection. I believe that technologists have a responsibility to build tools which are in alignment with certain social values. I don't believe that technology is disembodied. I believe that there is a human and spiritual aspect to it that we should tend to.
Bring Down a Mountain, the story very much revolves around the caste system and how removing that barrier would help people access technology and access the power of technology. Caste really decides who is able to have digital transactions and who is not. I've worked with several international nonprofits that have been furthering open education, open internet. If we want technology to be distributed, if we want technology to be accessible, open source and open culture, as movements are extremely important, open licenses also celebrate the power of the community and what can be possible, what can be done with that power. If we want technology to be distributed, if we want technology to be accessible, then we also have to ensure that technology is actually translated and is made by people that have the least amount of access and decision-making power.
I grew up in Wuhan, China. Wuhan is the punk city of China. It's shaped my understanding about what art can be and what art can do. It's such an accelerating economy where technology is being forcefully integrated into people's everyday life where there's no right to withdraw. It has changed the societal fabrics, the political fabrics. The parallel society showcases two voices. One is from a rural villager and one is from an immigrant. Even though people who are marginalized because of different identities are sometimes pitted against each other in political discourse, their emotional experiences are very often very similar. I am motivated by building the infrastructure of radical imagination. To have that happening, we need people who can build, we need people who can think, and we need people who can feel.
We started with two ideas. We started with innovation and intention, right? We have to be intentional about the things that we give and what we grant in order to make sure that innovation continues. And once you have that, that relationship can continue to grow.